in the land? I'll tell you. George Hill, Rodney Hood, Larry Nance Jr., Jordan Clarkson, they're all going to be in wine and gold. Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, Amon Shumpert, Channing Frye, Derrick Rose, Dwayne Wade, they're all gone, as is a first-round pick in the 2018 draft. So the last we saw of these old-look Cavaliers that were even a bit older, I guess, than they are now, was Wednesday. The Cavaliers and Timberwolves had gone to overtime at the Q. Jeff Green with the inbounds to LeBron. A second to go. He spins away from Jimmy Butler, hits the game winner at the free throw line. A 65th triple-double of LeBron James' career. And that would be that for the Cavaliers. So how now do you build chemistry with 28 games to go in this season?
I think it's going to be difficult. I mean, I think the Cavaliers did what they needed to do, 3D. They needed an infusion of a new locker room, and the players that they acquired are younger. When you talk about Jordan Clarkson, when you talk about Rodney Hood, Larry Nance Jr., you get the veteran and George Hill, I think that's all good. They're a better perimeter shooting team than they probably were before, and that's all good. But the fact is they're up against time here. And only having 28 games to integrate not only this young core, but also you have to remember they also have to integrate Kevin Love into this new core of players. And I think the time may run out on them, but we'll see.
How do you do it then? Because we heard I guess you could call it a complaint by Isaiah Thomas that it took a while to get back into the rhythm of things because the Cavs don't practice. So if you're not practicing often, do you change that? Do you change the practice schedule? Do you head back to Napa? What do you do?
Well, in Isaiah's, I do feel for him a little bit knowing that, he went through his injury, didn't have the surgery right away because he could have, maybe would have made his rehab process a little, speedier. But on the flip side of it, Stu, I'm looking at this roster from 06 and 07, and LeBron James took Shannon Brown, Boobie Gibson, Drew Gooden, Larry Hughes, Damon Jones, like Daniel Mark, guys that we were saying, how's a young LeBron doing this? Right. So now you're saying 28, 29 games, I got to bring in these 4 new guys, to your point, that I need fresher legs, better point guard, younger point guard, some guys off the bench that will mesh well with Kevin Love and Jeff Green. But can LeBron James pull this off in 28 or 29 games? If he does, that's just cash in.
Where does that greatest of all time conversation
all these conversations, who's better, him, Mike, I don't know. I just know he's taking 3 different styles of team. I don't count Miami, because we know that was Bosh, we know that was Wade, the big 3 down. I don't really count those 4 years. This right here, this is all on his shoulders, dude. Right. And if he can turn this around and make it happen, oh my goodness, it's just mind-boggling because this roster is one thing, but now you're bringing in 4 new key guys who have to figure it out because the only way Mr. Gibson and Kobe Altman is thinking about is championship.
Right.
Yeah. No, you bring up a great point, and the proof was really in 2007, and you could have a school of thought that says that LeBron flourishes in that role where he can take a bunch of role players who defer to him, both on the court and in the locker room, to his direction. And he's still the greatest player in the world. We know that. And he, quite frankly, could be successful that way. I almost feel like in Miami, although that was different, he was a visitor. Right? This is in the land. And this is his team. He's going to mold it the way that he can. If anyone can do it in 28 games, he can.
The NBA, though, shook things up a bit with the schedule this year, moving the trade deadline up prior to the All-Star break. Do you think that the Cavaliers benefit from these added weeks?
I do because, one, physically, it gives guys, obviously Kevin Love right now comes to mind because he's banged up, but now bringing in those new faces, and Stu, you talked about it in the meeting, that now the assistant coaches and guys on the side, the video guy, they're going to have those guys on the floor trying to show them the practice stuff, try to show them some of the offense, and just kind of give them a feel for where guys like to be on the floor. Obviously, you get better at that playing with your new teammates too, but on the fly, at All-Star Weekend, you're trying to get the guys as much information as possible.
And there's no question. And you have no doubt that the coaches will be able to do that. But the fact still remains, and what concerns me a little bit, 3D, they traded away 393 playoff games.
Yes, they did.
And they acquired players that had played 94. And all the preparation.
George Hill had most of those now.
That's correct.
Right. So, Jordan, Larry, they've played in as many NBA playoff games as I have.
Yeah.
Which is none.
By the way. So all that preparation is fine.
Right.
But I don't know how you make up for that difference when you said in the back during the meeting when the bright lights come on.
That's right. That's right, Chris, because it's one thing playing the 82 games and coming off the bench, but it's just a different ball game. And you true NBA fans at home, you know that by watching the NBA up close, that the game changes. It slows down for certain teams. It speeds up for certain teams. But for certain players, each possession means so much.
How important, though, is that youth that they've now reintroduced into the lineup? We're watching, I mean, a dunk contest contestant in Larry Nance Jr. there jumping out of the gym. If their problems have been defensively, their problems have been with youth, their problems have been with athleticism, how important, despite the lack of playoff experience, are those young guys going to be? It's
very, very important, Kristen, because now it takes so much pressure off of Kevin Love when you have Larry Nance on the floor, because he can guard a lot of 5 men, depending on obviously who it is. But now defensively, you can switch and move around and bring some of that youthful energy you're talking about. And I think the Cavs needed that.
There's no question that they did. And that's what I like about what Kobe Altman did at the trade deadline. He made a trade to get that infusion of youth. And it's going to bode well for them whether LeBron stays or whether he leaves, because if he leaves, they have a youthful base. The one thing that, the one hole I think the Cavs still have going into playoff basketball, though, 3D, if you look at their roster, LeBron is still the only high-level playmaker for other players.
Right.
Jordan Clarkson needs the ball in his hands.
He's not there.
But he's not there yet.
He's not there yet.
And I thought that was their problem, in the finals, even the year that they won it, not having enough playmakers, and now he's still the only one. But great move.